Lance by Chance. The untold story of him wrestling as of on Earth. LanceByChance.com.
Dave, how are you doing? And welcome back to the 531, where we take your top 5 list on a particular subject, vote them down to a top 3, debate that top 3 down to a top 1. And Dave, do you want to let the people know what we are talking about today?
Yeah, first off, let me answer you back when you ask how I am. I'm doing great. Secondly, I always giggle.
I'm talking at you. I'm not talking with you, brother.
Yeah, I always giggle like right in the beginning, and like nothing's going on. People that like watch enough of these videos are like, "Damn, the fuck is up with that redheaded dude?" We are going to talk about our favorite top 5 of all time SNL cast members. There, you see it on the bottom of the screen if you're watching us on video. And yeah, I'm excited to do this one. You know, it was one of those ones that when we were doing a comedy cast, like sitcoms, movies, stand-ups, and like SNL cast members were like right there, because I consider SNL kind of you know, I don't want to say the holy grail, but it's definitely like comedian sketch comedy world. It's like it's the WWE, right? It's the biggest, the most well-known.
Yeah, and actually next week we are going to be talking top 5 sketch comedy shows going on the SNL thing, but
Excuse me.
I would say this does feel like the holy grail of sketch comedy. It's been a long, I mean, roughly the longest of our time. You know, there have been sketch comedy shows before that.
Yeah.
But the first list I'm bringing you, Mike Phillips. He's got Dana.
No relation to Mel.
No relation to Mel. Phil Hartman, Will Ferrell, Daryl Hammond, and Eddie Murphy.
It's a good list. Powerful list. Love me some Phil Hartman.
He's not on mine, but he is one of those guys that was solid in every sketch he was in. I would say the same for Dana Carvey. Daryl Hammond, the sleeper pick of this list.
Definitely. Eddie Murphy is a star. We expect to see Eddie Murphy on a few lists, I believe. So,
do you think he's a bigger star than the time that he put in SNL? Like, did SNL contribute to his rise to stardom, or would you say it's more stand-up in movies? Because there are some people that were on SNL, but I would argue maybe their Hollywood career or stuff they did outside of SNL made them a bigger star.
Yes. Yes and yes. It helped contribute to launch him. It helped probably get him movies like 48 Hours and, you know, maybe Raw and stuff like that as stand-up. But, like, his Hollywood stuff and everything is what took off. You know, like, like I saw a list. I think I talked about this before, where Eddie Murphy was, like, one of the top comedians. And they said, oh, we wonder if how far he would have been if it hadn't been for his movie career. And I don't know if it was Greg Giraldo or somebody at the time said, oh, yeah, I feel so bad for him making millions and millions of dollars and all that in movies, you know? Meaning that, right, we don't know how good a stand-up he would have been. And, like, obviously SNL did help launch him, but he's more known and he's definitely more famous for his movies.
But the stand-up that is out there, raw, delirious, like
Goonie Google.
Yeah, and for him, it's like quality, not quantity, because there's not a ton of stand-up, but what he has is killer. I remember riding around with friend of the show, Eric Lozier, when he was playing just the greatest hits CD. And I was like, wow, this is
storytelling
right here.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But yeah, his SNL run was very interesting, I thought.
Absolutely. We got, let's see who's next here. First on my list, Randy Osgood. He's got Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Will Ferrell, Chris Farley, and Eddie Murphy. That's a solid list, man. Those are some of the all-stars of SNL right there.
Yeah, and I mean, you're gonna be able to tell when some people grew up because Randy, obviously, kid of the '90s,
Mm-hmm.
right in that solid run. I would say
Yeah.
my list doesn't follow my age as much because you would probably expect something similar. But yeah, I think we're gonna see interesting slices of who people have.
Will Ferrell, also another guy. It's funny because I would say he's almost just as famous for SNL as he is for his movie career. Like, unlike
Yeah,
Murphy, I think even though Will Ferrell's movies took off, I think Will Ferrell was just such a strong SNL cast member that he was just so well known for that by the time he got to movies that,
so many classic things, and I mean, if you look, they did best of SNL DVDs, and Will Ferrell had 2 volumes.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of tells you about the scope of his work there.
He's the anchor man, baby.
Next up, I got Jason DiAugustino from the Not Another Sports podcast,
Wow.
as well as the Rock and Randy's Rock and Wrestling group. I've probably included his lists before and didn't shout out his podcast, but Dave, you know how it is. You got to get you got to get word out there.
Yeah. Get your shit in, bro.
We lost about 36 YouTube followers, so we got to get our name back out.
Oh, that's AJ's Indian clickbait farm or whatever he had going on there. Shout out to Andy Walsh for that joke.
But back to Jason DiAugustino, Not Another Sports podcast. Find him on any major podcast provider. He's got Norm Macdonald, Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, and Dana Carvey.
Solid list. Like to see Phil back on there again.
Yeah, and I think no matter who you pick on this, there's not going to be a wrong answer because obviously SNL, we talked about it, one of the heavyweights in the sketch comedy game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go right to Mike Flynn next. He's got a guy we're probably going to see on a lot of lists: Will Ferrell, Bill Hader, Jimmy Fallon, Andy Samberg, and Tina Fey.
Interesting seeing some of those newer picks. Andy Samberg really got the Lonely Island kicked off through his SNL appearances. Bill Hader, another one, had a lot of good impressions on there. Made his name on there before popping off into movies.
I actually was talking to Andy the other day. I mentioned and
Samberg.
And that's Samberg, our friend Andy Walsh.
Andy Kayfabe?
His name, yeah, Andy Kayfabe. Well, he got mentioned on this episode, so he's just gonna get mentioned. He did give me some shit about that. Let me know this ain't no damn census bureau. You ain't gotta mention my last name on it. So, yeah, I forget we were talking about somebody, and Andy's like, yeah, I don't really like that guy. I'm like, oh yeah, why? Like, reminds me of Andy Samberg. I was like, oh wow, I never knew anybody had heat with Andy Samberg. Andy does.
Oh, wow. See, I'm such a Lonely Island fan. Me and Scott even went to see him in concert a couple years ago when they came around, and it was an amazing show.
I agree.
Next list up, I got Albert Bettis from the Rock and Randy's Rock and Wrestling group. He's got Norm Macdonald, Chris Farley, Eddie Murphy, Phil Hartman, and Dana Carvey.
Nice. Dana Carvey and Eddie Murphy making some lists early. I'm going to follow this up with another man who has Dana Carvey. This is Randy, not Randy Oscar. Randy Miller. He's got his list here. He's got number 5, Dana Carvey. Number 4, Fred Armisen. Number 3, Bill Hader. Number 2, Kate McKinnon. And number 1, Kristen Wiig.
Wow, there's some
new people. Yeah. Randy stays current on SNL, I think. And he's watched a lot of old stuff too. So he's got a more diverse list than a lot of us.
Wow. Now I'm going to give you my list next because I obviously don't stay current on SNL. My list is Garrett Morris, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, Chris Farley, and John Belushi.
Whose list was this?
That's mine.
I was wondering. I thought you said that was yours. Gilda Radner. Very interesting. I didn't expect that from you.
It was tough. It was going to be between Gilda Radner and Jane Curtin. I mean, you could argue Lorraine Newman too, but the ladies, especially on the early years, powerful. Like,
I love that you gave so many ladies because it's a great segue, and we didn't plan this, but Randy's lovely wife, Marissa Miller, she sent us a list. Basically, she went with an all-female list. Girl power, as she said. Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler, Kate McKinnon, Aidy Bryant, AIDY Bryant. I don't know that one.
I don't know who that is, but
Must be on the newer cast. An honorable mention to Tina Fey, pulling the Jake rule out here. So
that is
all of
big
them.
because that is not only an all-woman list, but like a heavy hitters list. It's not like the WWE where you're bringing up your favorite women and it's like, I got 3.
right.
That,
Right.
like, Tina Fey went on to big things. Who are some of the other names on that again?
Besides one we weren't too familiar with, 80, I'm going to call her. Kate McKinnon, Amy Poehler, who obviously had a
Amy
hell of a
Poehler went
run.
on to big things, yeah.
Yep. Kristen Rigg, who I believe is in the new Wonder Woman 1984 movie too, and she's done a lot
Yeah,
of other
she
stuff
did
too.
a lot of movies coming off SNL, and it's good to see that SNL can equally springboard a male or female career.
Yeah. Also, and Maya Rudolph too was also outstanding.
Oh, Maya Rudolph's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have made like a top 5 list, but anytime she has a character on there, I'm 100% in. And anytime I've seen her in movies after SNL, I've always been like, oh, it's Maya Rudolph. I'm big on that.
Yeah. Yeah. She's good.
Now,
What does she got?
I'm going to bring you family member Stephanie Guazda next because she has both. I'm going to call it the Jake and the Marissa rule here because she has a men and women's list, full 5 on each.
Oh wow! I
So
tried to
for
talk her
men,
into that one time. She was she had trouble with distinguishing for a while. She put a lot of thought into this. But anyway, go ahead. Let's see what Stephanie has to say.
Bill Murray, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, John Lovitz, and Phil Hartman for the men.
Damn. Bill Murray. Why didn't we include him enough? Anyway,
He's somebody that I would argue while he was good on SNL,
movies.
his movies and just his movies. I would not even his stand-up.
Yeah, overshadowed. Yeah. Definitely.
He is one of those people that I think he kind of people buy into the cult of personality with him, and it's almost like if you're a Bill Murray fan, you're a fan for what he stands for. While good on SNL, like I wouldn't say his SNL would necessarily be a standout to me, at least.
Right.
Now, her female list is Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Rachel Dratch, Kristen Wiig, and Tina Fey.
Solid list. I got my best motherfucking friend, Rob Dolly, hitting me with a list. He's got Will Ferrell, Fred Armisen, Jim Brewer, Pete Davidson, and Chris Farley.
I think you pronounced AJ Strangebrew wrong.
Definitely did not. One of my other good friends. The best man, Rob Dolly, we'll call him.
The one that showed up.
He showed up on time.
Now, I mean, we're going to be hearing a lot of the same names.
AJ's going to white knuckle the steering wheel now, and I'm going to have to. You should have gave me the time, motherfucker.
He knows what he did. Now, coming up next, Kevin Dignam from the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group. He's got Norm Macdonald, David Spade, John Belushi, Phil Hartman, and John Lovitz.
I love it.
Now, I'm second guessing myself. Is it Jim Belushi or John Belushi that was on?
There's 2 of them. They're both on SNL.
Who's the more famous one?
John is the more famous on SNL. Yeah, John was the Santa Rosa. Jim had a lot of other he had some movies and stuff towards the end. But yeah, John Belushi also did the Blues Brothers with Dan Aykroyd.
Okay, shit. Hopefully I'm not putting words in Kevin Dignam's mouth then, because he is Jim Belushi.
Yeah, I mean, Jim is I believe he did SNL as well. So
Well, honestly, would you pick Jim Belushi over John Belushi if you were putting up SNL careers?
Nope. No, I would not. So no offense, but I mean, I don't know. Hey.
And sleeper pick here, only because I watched SNL last night and it's on the top of my mind. How good were those Albert Brooks films that were? I don't think he's gonna pop up on anybody's list, but the Albert Brooks films sprinkled throughout the early SNLs, added like to the quirkiness of it.
Yeah. Well, moving on because I don't have a lot to add to that because I forgot about those. We have a list from Laura B. She's got Tina Fey, Will Ferrell, Maya Rudolph, Jimmy Fallon, and Horatio Sands for cracking each other up all the time during the skits. So Jimmy Fallon and Horatio Sands would always make each other laugh, for those who don't know.
And that's kind of a split point between some people. Some
Oh,
people,
yeah, some people hate it.
find me amused by that, and
Mhm.
some people are just like, "Oh, what the fuck? They can't keep the professionalism." But isn't that the fun of comedy sometimes? Trying to one
Right.
up each other and seeing if you can pop them. And
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
if you're doing a highly respected live show out of New York,
Hmm.
I can feel that almost to break up the monotony, there's probably an urge to do that a little more as well.
Crack each other up. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, next,
I like it personally, but I mean, I can see. I like it sometimes. I can see where it gets annoying, but there's definitely moments where I think humor and laughing is contagious.
yeah. Now, next list I got from Anthony DeSalvatore. He's got Chris Farley, David Spade, Mike Myers, Will Ferrell, and Dan Aykroyd.
There you go. My mighty Will Ferrell making another list.
Yeah, Aykroyd feels like the standout of that list because that's more of a younger crowd, but it shows that when it's your favorite SNL cast member, it's kind of different things I think make it up. It's not always going to be just the time frame you saw it in.
Absolutely. Now I got our boy Jesse from New Hampshire. He's got Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, David Spade, Will Ferrell, and Jimmy Fallon.
Solid list. Can't argue with any of them.
Mm.
Next up, I got Philip Allen from the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group and just a friend on Facebook. Big fan in the Baltimore area. Shout out to Just Phil Allen.
Baltimore!
He's got Martin Short, Eddie Murphy, Maya Rudolph, Chevy Chase, and Dan Aykroyd.
Chevy Chase making the list, huh?
I was wondering how many lists Chevy Chase was going to make because he didn't have a very long SNL run.
Mm.
So his appearances were major in the first couple seasons, but he was one of those guys that almost kind of seemed to go off into the Hollywood movie making thing. And God, what a career that guy could have had.
Very, very hated behind the scenes, too.
Yeah, I was going to say he had a wild career, but he could have had such a better one if he wasn't so looked down
hard
upon
to get along with.
attitude.
Yeah. Very famous skit with him that I will mention and not go into too much detail with him and
Richard Pryor one, yeah.
The word association, and they'll say some racial racial slurs to each other. We'll just say basically there's at one point
they might have said the N-word.
No, they did.
Well, I was gonna say we're definitely not gonna say.
No, we're not gonna. No, but yeah, I forget what word before that Chase had said, and basically
Spear Chucker.
It might have been Spear. I don't remember, but it was just basically it was Murphy respond, not Murphy. Richard Pryor responds with honky, and then of course the famous and funny line is now. Was it honky honky too?
Honky honky was after honky.
And then the finale is basically Chevy Chase says the N-word, and then Pryor just looks at him in his fucking crazy eyes and goes, "Dead honky." And that's like
that was a wild skit, one of the standouts of the early seasons, and I think kind of what made that early SNL appeal, where it's funny but it is also social commentary.
It is, yeah. You, I don't know, you wouldn't get away with that today, but they were so fearless, and it was just, it was interesting. It was very. It's worth checking out. People should check that out. Also,
side note, anybody that knows me, my musical taste, I'm a fan of Gil Scott-Heron, and he was actually the musician on that episode. It's a very black-centric episode. Good to see.
My man, pulling out some tidbits here. All right, I got our boy Scott from Voluntown next. He's got Eddie Murphy, John Belushi, Phil Hartman, Will Ferrell, and Dana Carvey. I feel like all those people are making our list. Yeah, it's going to be hard to pick a top three out of this bunch. But my next list, friend of the show, Eric Lozier, has Will Ferrell, Tracy Morgan, Chris Farley, Mike Myers, and Tim Meadows. Oh, Tim Meadows, the ladies' man. I have had all the venereal diseases, and I am not afraid of them. I think top SNL spinoff movies might have to be another list coming up because the ladies' man, one of the top superstar, Molly Shannon. I don't think I've heard Molly Shannon mentioned on here too much either, but yeah. No, and she was another standout, especially during those Will Ferrell years. I thought they made a great team. They did. I got Zach St. John next. He's got Will Ferrell. I do feel like Will Ferrell is definitely going to be earning a top 3 spot at least here at this point. Chris Farley, Mike Myers, Kristen Wiig, Phil Hartman, and yeah, that's it. That's just 5.
Now I'm gonna have to. How many more lists you got?
I got one. I got mine and Mike Cadwell.
All right, because I know we're up against the gun here, and Pete's
Mhm.
gonna be knocking on Dave's door any moment now. So
We're going to be angels for real.
I got 4 lists coming up, so I'm just gonna power through them, and then you can knock your lists out. Sorry for the sake of time, folks.
Yeah, that's all right.
First up, Stephen Richard has Kate McKinnon, Chris Farley, Will Ferrell, Phil Hartman, Eddie Murphy. Jason Shane, friend of the show, Strife Bringing Chaos, has Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, John Lovitz, Chris Rock, and Dan Aykroyd.
Mm.
Kevin Dignam from the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group has John Belushi, Norm Macdonald, David Spade, Phil Hartman, and Tina Fey.
Wow.
And last but not least, father, friend of the show, teacher, Andy Kaneko has Will Ferrell, Chris Farley, Tracy Morgan, Adam Sandler, Bill Murray.
Give my blessings to the Reverend. All right, I'm gonna finish up. You know, this is one of those lists we should have probably definitely did a better count on and stuff before. A lot of these we don't really give a count on. We kind of just go by feel and we pick. But like,
we got a lot of lists, and there's a
Right.
lot of similar names. That
We'll be
pop
doing a
up.
volume 2 of this down the road. I have a feeling.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, in the meantime, Mike Cadwell, Mikey Fred Facebook page. He's got Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Eddie Murphy, Dana Carvey, and Dan Aykroyd. And last but not least, yours truly with Eddie Murphy, Will Ferrell, Chris Farley, David Spade, and yes, I decided to put a young lady on there, Amy Poehler. Thought she was excellent.
Wow. Now, obviously, I don't think we're going to get down to a top 3 on votes.
No, there's too many
Because we
fucking
didn't-
people.
yeah, I was
we
gonna
should
say,
have
we didn't
That's
calculate
our
it.
bad. We're doing this right now, recording, and guess what? You're
But
just gonna get
the
whatever we
easy
think.
part of that, for us at least, is a lot of the same names popped up on
Mhm.
here.
I think Will Ferrell's got to make.
Will Ferrell, definitely, he was going to be my top pick.
Yep. Okay. Let me throw some names out there for you, and we'll see where we land on these. Who got most of the picks for the women vote? You think? Kristen Wiig?
It's kind of spread out.
Yeah.
I've got a couple Radners.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Wig.
I felt Wiig was there
Ruff.
2 times.
How many times you got Wig? Because I got
shit.
Faye twice. I got Gilda Radner twice.
Well, what about? Let's just move on. There's so many. All right,
Let's
we got
pick,
Farrell.
let's
I
pick
think.
a lady though. I'm gonna give it. Let's pick Tina Fey because I think she was arguably the biggest that made it out of here, and
Okay.
that's saying something. Where you got Gilda Radner, comedy legend, Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig went on to do kind of modern movies in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Curtin, obviously a legend, but I think Tina Fey is maybe the best representation of female success coming off SNL. And that's
And then
not
I'm gonna just throw.
anybody else's.
I'm gonna throw some names at you. You tell me if we need to add somebody, and we'll try to make this third one here.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, and I'm gonna go Phil Hartman because I felt like he got mentioned enough times. Oh, and Dana Carvey did a lot too, I think.
If you give me those lists, I feel like Harvey sticks out just for his legendary status.
Okay.
I want to give
I got no
Phil
problem.
Hartman the pick because obviously he's dead. And I mean, this is one of the bigger things that made his name. He did get roles on shows like News Radio. He was on Simpsons, but
you know what? We got so far. We got Tina Fey and we got Will Ferrell. I think we need another era. All right. So I'm gonna say, all right, let's go with either Aykroyd or Murphy.
Ooh, see, I would go Aykroyd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because if you compare their SNL runs,
Right. We're not talking about just
I
movies.
feel like it was a little longer than Murphy's,
Mm-hmm.
even though both probably got their names bigger in their Hollywood careers. But
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Murphy's great to me. Like Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
that's good.
But let's go Aykroyd.
I was gonna try and debate it down, but I mean, we got mere minutes till Pete is gonna be at your doorsteps.
Yeah. I got prior engagements, folks.
So get Murphy.
My rent's due, motherfucker. So I think if we're gonna do this, Tina Fey's great, but I think when you're just talking about Aykroyd and Will Ferrell, I just think those are two larger names. Unfortunately, nothing to do with the girl power thing. But I mean, I'm happy to have her on there. I think that as time goes on, we're going to see more women on this list. But I just think like right now, I don't know. I look at the legends there. I think it's still Will Ferrell. I think Aykroyd. I think guys like Sandler and stuff like that too. Although
important to note that Tina Fey did carry the torch, started by Jane Curtin as being a Weekend Update anchor, and really
she wrote a lot of the stuff too. She was a strong writer. Yeah. So actually, if we're just going to put an all-around most talented cast member, probably have to go Tina Fey. Layup.
Actually, if anybody gets a chance, read Tina Fey's book Bossy Pants out there. I bought it when it came out, and I was huge fan of it.
Okay.
Big fan of hers overall, but we got Will Ferrell versus Dan Aykroyd here.
And to me, the winner of this is going to be Will Ferrell. I just think that he's had such an outstanding career, propelled from SNL, and he's had such a great SNL career that he's the man.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, I would argue some very good early years, but Will Ferrell, iconic, just really made it his own in newer years.
Mm-hmm.
Fans, if you want to check out a good book about the history of SNL, it's called Live from New York. Motherfucker's about that thick, and just details all the cast over the years, how Lorne Michaels got the deal with NBC and just produced it overall. Very good book.
I think we're going to have to start doing maybe some of these SNL cast members. That'll be some of our next top five. Like, top five Will Ferrell movies, top five Eddie Murphy movies. I think that's going to be some list we spin off into here.
Yeah, I mean, coming off this list, I mean, we've got top 5 sketch comedy shows coming up, top 5 SNL spinoff movies. We've got a lot coming for you, fans. And if you have any ideas, get in our social medias, get in our email, let us know the list that you want to see, and we will bring it to you on a future 531.
Get in that ass.